This is the first time I think I'm going to actually get uh, this broadcast working properly on YouTube. So I just want to check and see. And it looks like I won't be able to check it without slowing everything down. So I'll make sure to check after. I know last week it didn't work with the live YouTube broadcast. So hopefully it is now because that's a channel I want to use a little bit more. Today, the reason I'm on today, I've promised myself I'm going to get on every week. Supposed to be 7:30 on Wednesdays. Bill, you made it. Even though the hockey game's on, awesome. Welcome, Bill. So typically it's supposed to be 7:30 on Wednesdays. I've made the commitment. I'm like, this is what I said I was going to do. I know when I was on these videos, we had a lot of people watching. I know the followers for the page, for the Facebook page, were going up quite a bit, and it's just something that wasn't focused on as much as it should be in the last several months. And part of my new positive thinking was to commit to every week. Now, because tomorrow I've got some work commitments with Orangetheory, coincidentally, I'm going to make it on Tuesday today, my broadcast. So I thought this broadcast, whether you're watching it live or after the fact, I thought this broadcast would be really interesting for not only people who are looking to get fit at home. We're all kind of stuck in this lockdown. Maybe if you're in Florida, the world is, circa 2019. For a lot of us, though, there has been a change in Ontario, England, a lot of countries, and even states. We're basically a lockdown, which sucks. But I thought this gave me an opportunity to speak to people that are working out at home, but also online trainers and anybody interested in perhaps some insight into the future of the industry. I've been in the industry for now, like, it's kind of ridiculous how fast time has gone, but 20 years. I've been involved from, every aspect, from fitness competitor to, athlete as a boxer, to personal trainer, to event promoter, to owning an organization. So a lot of different aspects published in magazines and papers, all that kind of stuff. So I do think I've got some insights into where the industry is going, but humble and impressed with Orangetheory enough to admit where I think I've made a few mistakes. So with that said, I find bringing up these PowerPoints just kind of focuses my discussion more, and it adds, a little bit of a graphical element. So I'm going to go with it. But essentially what I'm going to talk about today is what I've learned by working at Orangetheory and my new, but really they're old projects. So I'll talk about that at the very end. So, the world was going along well. 2020 was supposed to be my year. It was supposed to be everyone's year. Business was doing good, especially UFE. We were on track to having a record year. And then, boom, we got smacked in the face with this rotten pandemic, which just, wreaked havoc on so much stuff. But it really, really, really impacted those of us in the fitness industry. Now, I thought I was slightly diversified. I had UFE, and I also had my training business, both of which did very well. But when this pandemic hit, guess what? Gyms were locked down, and events, to this day, events still really haven't been able to happen in most places, or they've happened in a very limited capacity. So the two businesses that I love being a part of both got hit. And me being an entrepreneur, working for myself, here I am thinking I'm contributing to society and this is a good thing. Well, I learned the hard way that being an entrepreneur is, I've learned this before, but another lesson in how hard it can be. So when this happened, I no longer could pay myself through the business because UFE has different financial obligations. We were trying to employ people. We needed to conserve cash so that we could actually try and survive. And luckily enough, to this point, 9 months later, we've survived, and just praying that 2021 is much better. But also, my other business got quite hit. So again, wasn't even able to do enough training to be able to make any money. And as you all know, we were locked down with no gyms open to be able to make any money for some time. So with that said, it was a long, dark journey down to the pits. Rather than taking the government assistance, I've just always hated that, and that goes back to some childhood backstories. But I've never wanted a handout from the government, and that's the way I kind of considered it. And to be honest, $500 a week wasn't going to cut it anyways. So I had to quickly find employment, and Amazon was it. And let me tell you, it is a terrible place to work, and absolutely cannot believe that they're open during the pandemic for a myriad of different reasons, including the fact that, talk about a super spreader employer, but somehow they're immune. So it was a very dark, place for me. I just hated it. I just absolutely hated it, but had to make money. As soon as things could open up properly, this was quite some time, but as soon as things could open properly, I got right back to doing what I love, which is coaching. But it took a while to build the business. And in fact, it never came back to what it was, because some people, just didn't want to return to the gym, or they had enough, or they didn't like the rules. For whatever reason, they weren't all returning. So also took a job with Orangetheory Fitness, because to this day, I do not take anything from the fitness event business, which most of you know is UFE. I don't take anything from it because we need to just make sure we're being extremely careful so that we weather the storm, so we're able to deliver amazing events. And like I said, the training just wasn't paying the bills with not everybody back. So I took the position with Orangetheory. 500% better company, 1,000% better company. So basically, Orangetheory, whatever, great employer. They've done a lot. Now, I want to talk about my mindset pre-COVID, and a lot of it's to do with online coaching. So my first idea of online coaching is it sucks. It's boring. It's boring for the coach. You're basically just an administrator. Most of the coaches get into it because these online success coaches for online coaches, they tell you, wow, you can train from anywhere. You can be in, the Bahamas, and you're just giving your clients programs. The dream they're selling you on, it's most of it's bull crap. Okay. So boring to coach. You're just typing stuff. You're answering trivial messages all the time. The adherence and the retention are low. Clients just aren't sticking with online training. Now, some coaches might say, no, Sean, I've had people for a year, 2 years, 3 years. But I would argue that those clients are the exception, not the rule. And if you're a trainer who has more than a few of those clients, then kudos to you. But the adherence and the retention are low. The other thing is online coaching. You're either going to have to race to the bottom, which is horrible for the industry. So I recommend nobody who's thinking of online coaching tries to race to the bottom in terms of their pricing. But you're either racing to the bottom in pricing, or my thought was you're going to get smashed by YouTube or some of these other way more advanced paid things such as Peloton, Apple, and even that new mirror thing where you can look in a mirror and you can actually see the workout you're supposed to do. My thought was that in person is far more effective, it's more impactful, it's more fun, and it's just not going to be displaced. So I watched, Bill says, how do you really feel? Yeah, going back to the Amazon. Maureen, how you doing? So in working for Orangetheory, I watched a business, and Orangetheory is a pretty big company. Like, I don't know how many locations they have, but I would estimate it's somewhere around 1,000, if not more. They're all over the world. They are a big company. But through this lockdown, they were doing so well too. Like it's a higher end company. It's a higher price point. Really focuses on member experience. And all of a sudden now you've got nobody that can come in with this lockdown. So they had to pivot from getting locked down to being allowed to get back, they had to go from having classes where they'd have sometimes 20, 30, 40 people in, depending on the studio size, making a ton of cash, to completely locked down, losing ridiculous amounts, which, they run a franchise system, so it's horrible for their franchisees. So it's causing a whole tidal wave of problems. Then they were allowed to open in person like the rest of the, fitness studios and gyms, but it was limited in person. Then they tried to adapt yet again. So, in Ontario and some other states in the US and some other provinces, countries, government's like, okay, well, now there's no more fitness classes. It's like, okay. So they were pivoting to open gym, and this was like within days. And then when they were about to pivot to open gym, boom, lockdown part 2 happened in Ontario and some other places like, Alberta. So bang, lockdown. So they had been thinking of something for some time, but they rolled it out extremely quickly, much more ahead of schedule. And it's a platform called Orangetheory Live. So essentially, remember my thoughts on online training. Essentially, this is online training. This is kind of what I was thinking. My initial thought is, okay, that's fantastic that you're trying to innovate. You're trying to do something. They're trying to keep people employed. So they're still keeping people on at the reception and the sales. They're still trying to keep their coaches on. Amazing. But it's online training. People, especially with premium price. Orangetheory, if you want to top tier membership, it can be up to $200 a month. Okay, that's expensive for an in-person gym. Never mind, trying to go to online, and it is discounted a little bit for online, but people are paying a lot. I'm like, I just don't think that's going to work out. But sure enough, what they've proved to me, what Orangetheory's proved to me, and what I've learned is that you can charge a premium price for online personal training or group training as long as it's done right. So let me say that again. This does not need to be a race to the bottom. Orangetheory, they are a premium brand, and they could have said, geez, online training, it's really not worth that much. It's not the same as in person. Let's see if we can just hopefully grab people for $50 a month for, unlimited. They didn't do that. They kept their memberships. They're slightly discounted from what in person is, but not severely. So I learned that not only can you have a premium service, but you can make it effective. You can retain people. You can make people enjoy it, but it needs to be done right. And their platform is incredible. It is proprietary to them. It is better than what I've seen before. But there are other platforms that since then I've researched and thought to myself, this can be done. This can be done. Before, I really thought online training, and this isn't just my thinking. Stats were proving this out, that the way people were doing online training before, it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working. So the value proposition of this platform, you've got YouTube. Well, why the hell am I going to do Orangetheory Live if I've got YouTube for free? Well, in YouTube, you don't have necessarily progressive. Oh, and the other thing is, why am I going to do Orangetheory if I've got Mirror, if I've got Peloton, if I've got Apple, any of these services? It's like, well, how am I going to pay premium price for Orangetheory Live? And the answer is they've brought most of their technology to the platform. But the one thing that YouTube, that Peloton, that Nike, Apple, I should say, it's Apple's new platform, Mirror, what they cannot do is give you that personalized coaching. So on the Orangetheory platform, you can see the people you're working with in a group format. Okay, so profit there. So it's not just one-to-one. There's a number of people, so there's profit. But you can see those people and you can coach those people personally. Now, I believe Peloton has live class versions, but there's just so many people on there that really it's not really live coaching to you personally. They're fantastic instructors. I assume Apple's going to be fantastic as well. But the advantage for Orangetheory, in addition to the fact that they bring all their tech over, is that the coach is personal. And they've hired good, experienced coaches that identify with people, know how to push people. They know how to make jokes at the right time to keep it light and fun. So this is some of what I've learned. So with that said, with Peloton becoming very popular, with Apple about to crush it with their new fitness platform, with Mirror, with Orangetheory, with people now starting to get better at online training, because it will get better. And I have seen the technologies that come somewhat close to Orangetheory. Will in-person training return the way it did? And for those of you whose feedback I can see quickly, and even if you're not watching this live, I just want you to take 20 seconds and I want you to let me know what you think. Is in-person training going to come back the way it did? I'd love to hear your feedback. And I know there's several of you actually between the two platforms. You can see there's several of you watching live. What do you think? And I actually do have some data to prove it. I haven't put it into the slideshow, but it's through talking with a couple of companies, including GlowFox and MindBody. So what do you think? Is online training going to displace the in-person? Will in-person come back? Do people care about in-person anymore? What are your thoughts? All right. So, there's a number of people who think in-person training, it's not really going to return the way it did. A lot of people think, people are getting used to training at home. Peloton might displace it. Now we've got the Orangetheory Live. Well, what I can tell you, based on what I have seen, so as soon as gyms opened back up, I saw that gyms were packed as much as they could be. So if they had a limit, they were packed to the limit. If they had no limit, they were packed to the brim. People want to get back to in person. People want to get back to in person. GlowFox and MindBody, they're two fitness management platforms. They also found that when coaches went online or studios went online, gyms went online, they had a huge uptake over time of people starting to adopt online. But as soon as any area opened up for in-person, people were right back to it. So, is online training better? I do not think so. I think there is something about in-person training that is far better. Okay, so I just think that personal interaction, I think humans are meant to be social animals. I think just having someone there with you just takes you to that different level. There's just such quick live feedback. Now, will the future be exactly what 2019 and the past was? That I don't think. And I think what the pivot will be now is that a lot of online training will coexist with and complement in-person training. I think technology for online training is going to get better, but it will never displace in-person training. Okay, but how can you make online training work going forward? Because a lot of it used to be, I'm going to send my clients a program, all that kind of stuff. You need to do more than that. So there's a few ways to go about that. One is you have a very proprietary program, something that people can't just rip off of YouTube, something that Peloton doesn't care about, that Apple doesn't care about, something that's proprietary to you, that has your personality about it, that's unique. So that's one way to work it out. The other way to make online training work is to start doing something like what Orangetheory was doing, is these live classes. And I have seen that technology really starting to get better. So you literally, get a group of people, you invite them. The rudimentary way is getting them into a Zoom call, and you're doing live training, and you can see all of who's training with you, so you get some of that same effect. Okay. So what is the true value of a personal trainer, and why can't AI replace them? Okay, so AI, YouTube, all of that. This is where we can learn, and I know some training coaches, some like online personal training business coaches have said stuff like this, and I'll kind of re-emphasize it if you haven't heard it before. The value of a personal trainer is that you are an accountability coach and you are a motivator. AI will never do that. So if somebody is on a YouTube channel and it looks like they're looking at you and they're like, you can do it, they cannot name you. They do not have that personal connection. Okay. And AI maybe at some point will get to a point where there's an avatar that looks like a person and it's saying, hey, Sean, kick some butt. I know you can do it. And maybe that's going to come in 5 to 10 years, but we're still going to know it's not human. Okay. The other thing is there's creativity, there's empathy. Now, maybe one day AI can empathize with you if you feel like you're going to quit, rather than purely just, all right, Sean, do it. There is some empathy there to your feelings. Or to your physical feelings. So whether that's scaling something back, whether it's identifying with you and kind of bringing it back to your own experiences, that's something that AI will not do in the near decades anyways. So this is where your value lies, in that you are human, you have a connection, you have something unique in terms of your programming, you have empathy, you have emotions that cannot be expressed by a real person if they're doing a YouTube video or if they're on Peloton or Mirror, and they cannot be expressed by an AI program. So that leads me, after learning all these lessons, what the heck am I going to do with those lessons? Because I never gave up my business. Orangetheory, fantastic place. It's a part-time. It's a part-time job. So it's not going to take up all my time. I'm going to have lots of time for UFE and for my training business. So I've taken a lesson and said to myself, you know what? Online training can be done well. It doesn't just have to be this administrative, menial bull crap where you're not really giving people the value. They could just duplicate you on YouTube. They could get better than you on Peloton. No, there are ways for you to show much more value. Let's see. I just want to go on to some feedback before I kind of finish up here. So Bill, his opinion, because I'll read a few of these opinions now. Bill says, no, we're not going to go back to training the way it was. People have created home gyms and have a fear of the public places. So kind of hopefully, what I said there kind of, explains to the others what the data says. So will there be some people that want to work out in their home gym? Yeah. Do I think that's sustainable over years? Even for those people that are super afraid of public places? I don't think so. I think people want to be around people. Even if I go to the gym and I don't want to talk to anybody, I like to see other people suffering alongside me. So I really do think that, and then the data shows that as soon as places are open, people ram. Okay. So Maureen says, I do think so. I myself prefer working out in a gym. And then Charlene agreeing it. And yeah, and Maureen gets the nail on the head. The socialization, the camaraderie are important. So how can you try to duplicate that as an online coach? Something like the Orangetheory model. Now, this program you're looking at here, you see the number 12. It's a program I actually developed in 2009. And the way I was envisioning this, I'm like, wow, I can't believe 2009. Holy smokes, time has gone. But I was envisioning it like, look at P90X, look at Insanity. I was all excited about this. 12, this is going to be a completely new program. It's based on boxing. It's got a little bit of bodybuilding element. The progression is amazing. This is going to be super, super cool. And then I just realized that, holy smokes, like Beachbody is, a $1 billion company. They throw crazy amounts of advertising. How am I going to get this? Because it was going to be like in a DVD format. And the project just got thrown to the sidelines for a while. Never really looked at doing it from an app perspective. But with the new technology of apps and how cheap they've become, it is a project I'm looking at bringing back. But combining some of these ideas that I got from how well Orangetheory executed their workouts. So I am going to launch this on an app that is going to come soon. I am going to be announcing when this starts up. We are going to take a bunch of people through beta, make sure we've worked out kinks, and it'll be a combination of app and live classes. And I think it's going to be exciting. So we're hopefully going to roll it out well before this lockdown ends. So maybe in the next week or two. And it will start getting beta people in. So we're developing the program as the people are already in. The program is set on paper, but it just needs to be developed inside of the app. So I think it's going to be really cool. It is a very unique program. And just with what these ideas I've got, I think it's going to be, very feasible to do it now. So what do I have going forward with Elite Physique Coach? I am going to re-release my app. I actually did have an app, the Elite Physique Coach app. Never really got excited about it. I was looking into online training. I was dabbling with it, and I was just bored, and I just never did it. So I am going to re-release the Elite Physique Coach app, but it is going to have crazy functionality in terms of integrating properly with dieting platforms. So instead of, manually typing out, shitty programs and, oh, this is boring, I can give people macros to follow, and it integrates with MyFitnessPal so people can just set their own nutrition according to the macros. It'll have tracking, so when people are wearing Apple Watch, it's going to start syncing into the app. I'm going to be able to do live classes either through the app or kind of through the app, where people get a link and then they'll just use whatever, whether it's YouTube, Zoom, something like that, to actually do live classes. The pre-designed proprietary programs, I am going to have those. So how I talked about, coaches should have something very unique to them that can't be duplicated. So that 12 program, very unique. And I've got one more in the works that I'm super excited to develop. And I'm going to get back to in-person coaching. I love it. Even though I'm excited for what's to come with the apps, I'm excited for these live classes, online live classes. I still am more excited about in-person coaching. I am going to get back to it. I'm super pumped about that. And then I'm going to use the app technology to complement my in-person coaching and training. So, the app that's the platform I'm going to work on top of is just extremely powerful, and it's going to help me get even better results for my clients. So that's kind of where Elite Physique Coach is going forward. Now, the one thing about the in-person coaching is the gym that I train people out of is in Mississauga. So I've got people from Oakville easily able to come. I've got people from Toronto. Some people even struggle all the way from Hamilton and way out of town to come. But, nobody's going to be, I've once had somebody fly in to train with me. But for the most part, people are going to come within a certain radius. And this online training is going to be a fantastic opportunity to work with people from more locations, but it just has to be done right. So with all these ideas, all these new epiphanies, I am going to be developing online coaching in a whole new way from what I was doing before. Pretty excited about that. So with that, guys, I just want to thank you for spending some time with me. Let's see. I'm hoping that we worked on YouTube as well. I could see it looked like it was flicking on and off. But yeah, thanks for spending some time with me, guys. I look forward to seeing you next week. My goal is be on here Wednesday at 7:30 with a whole new topic. And in the meantime, even though that this live is ended, it's 8 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday, that I'm going to end it. You guys can still comment in the box, and at some point I will respond. Okay. Love debates, love questions, love input from everybody. And with that, guys, take care.